It was supposed to be one of those rare interviews where the silence spoke louder than the questions. A stripped-down studio, no applause, no fanfare, just two chairs, two glasses of water, and a void of black swallowing everything else. NBC Nightly News had framed it as a quiet, candid sit-down between veteran journalist Lester Holt and Prince Harry, the man who had traded Buckingham Palace for California sun. But what started as a conversation would soon become a contest, one between restraint and pride, patience and defiance, journalism and entitlement. The cameras rolled. Lester. Holt greeted his guest with the calm precision of a man who had seen everything. Wars, scandals, disasters. His voice carried the familiar warmth that anchors live television. "Thank you for being here tonight," he said, extending a measured smile. "We appreciate your time." Prince Harry's response came clipped, calculated. "My schedule's tight," he said, lowering himself into the chair. "But important topics deserve space." From the first line, there was something taut beneath the surface. Lester began gently. "You've built a new life in the United States since stepping away from royal duties? A lot of people are curious what that transition has meant day to day. How is the adjustment?" Harry's smile was thin, practiced. "Adjustment is the wrong word," he said. "I didn't adapt. I returned to my own rhythm." "There's a difference." The words hung in the air like cold metal. Lester nodded, undeterred. "Then let me ask about balance. Public scrutiny doesn't vanish. How do you balance privacy with public life?" Harry repeated the word like it offended him. "Balance," he said. "People say balance when they really mean show us more. I'm not obliged to do that." The cameras crept closer. Even the water on the table seemed to vibrate under the lights. Lester's tone softened. "Your family, then? Viewers often wonder about the simple things. Mornings, routines. How do you and your wife support each other under pressure?" This time, Harry smirked. Not warmly, but with a flash of irritation. "Support? We're not a reality TV couple trading pep talks. People chronically underestimate us as if we're barely holding it together. It's insulting." Lester nodded once, acknowledging the sting. "I didn't mean to imply fragility. Many couples relate to the strain between public and private life. That's all." Harry crossed his ankle over his knee, voice calm but cutting. "I'm not here to provide a seminar in relatable marriage. My children aren't public property either. If you're fishing for the fairy tale soundbite, we're happy." The period at the end of that sentence felt like a gavel drop. Lester turned a card, letting the pause linger. "Let's look at the broader lens. Your exit from the institution still fascinates people. What does the monarchy represent to you now?" Harry's reply came fast. "Nothing. It's a theatrical set piece from my past. I stepped off that stage." "Some would argue," Lester continued evenly, "that set piece gave you a platform, that it still amplifies your voice." Harry's tone stiffened. "If that comforts people, fine. But I'm here for what I say, not for the name on a family tree." The air in the studio cooled. Lester took a breath, ready to tread carefully. "Your late mother, Princess Diana," he began. "Her death reshaped how the world thinks about press and privacy. How has that experience informed what you're doing now?" A flicker crossed Harry's expression. Then it hardened. "Dragging my mother's pain into every conversation is disrespectful. If someone thinks that's a ratings hook, they should examine their motives." "My intent isn't to exploit," Lester replied. "It's to understand connection. Did that loss influence the stance you take today?" Harry's patience began to slip. "Being hauled back to the same point every time is exhausting." The light hummed louder. Lester placed his cards aside. "Then a direct question," he said. "Some viewers hear your tone as arrogant. Is that a concern for you?" Harry didn't blink.
Arrogant?
"Saying things plainly isn't arrogance. I'm not required to sand down the truth, so it goes down easy." The black backdrop rose behind them like a wall. Lester pivoted, still calm. "Let's talk projects then, your charities, initiatives. What do you most want people to take away tonight?" Harry shrugged. "We're already communicating those. If people care, they'll find them. I didn't come to recite brochure copy." A door closed between them. Behind the glass wall, producers held their breath. Lester's smile stayed, but it had edges now. "The goal tonight," he said quietly, "was to let viewers hear you, from you." "Viewers hear what they want," Harry replied. "That's part of your system." The first segment ended in silence, the kind that feels heavier than words. When the broadcast returned, Lester's voice was calm, but something had shifted. "Welcome back," he said. "We're continuing our conversation with Prince Harry." Harry shifted in his chair, posture rigid. Lester glanced at his notes. "You and Meghan have created organizations, media projects, and charitable initiatives. Some people say you've found your voice in America. Others believe you've traded one stage for another. How do you respond?" Harry's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Traded? That's lazy. I didn't trade anything. I evolved. It's what people do when they stop being trapped by centuries-old nonsense." "So," Lester said, "the criticism that you're still in the public eye despite wanting privacy, is that unfair?" Harry's tone sharpened. "Unfair? Lester, freedom doesn't mean disappearing. Privacy means choice. The press, people like you, struggle with that concept." Still, Lester stayed steady. "When you give interviews, publish memoirs, appear in documentaries..." Harry cut in. "Let me stop you. Those are on my terms. You of all people should understand control over narrative. That's what journalists crave, isn't it? Control." The temperature in the room seemed to rise. Lester leaned in slightly, voice low but firm. "My goal is understanding, not control. And I think the audience wants to understand how you reject the spotlight while stepping back into it." Harry's reply was sharp. "Because the spotlight doesn't belong to you, or the monarchy, or the tabloids. It belongs to whoever stands under it willingly, and I choose when it shines." Lester nodded, quiet. "Understood. Let's shift gears. Your late mother, Princess Diana." Harry stiffened. "There it is. I was waiting for that." "Waiting for what?" Lester asked. "The inevitable," Harry snapped. "Someone always brings her up like she's some emotional trigger. My mother isn't a storyline, Lester. She was a human being." Lester met his eyes. "I assure you that's not my intention. Her legacy matters to many people, yourself included." Harry leaned forward, voice rising. "Fair? You think digging through trauma for ratings is fair? My mother died because of this circus, the same kind of media machine you're sitting in right now." The words landed like a blow. Lester's jaw tensed. His reply came slow, deliberate. "Prince Harry, I've covered war zones, disasters, tragedies. I don't exploit pain. I ask because context matters. People are trying to understand what drives you." Harry scoffed. "What drives me is none of their business." Lester looked at him steady. "You remind me of people I've interviewed who mistake criticism for persecution." Harry's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" "You talk about truth and accountability," Lester continued, "but every question offends you. Maybe the issue isn't the questions." Harry straightened, his tone icy. "Are you analyzing me now? Is that part of the act? The calm journalist who lectures his guest?" Lester smiled faintly. "This isn't an act, Your Highness. This is an interview. Then maybe you should learn how to conduct one without sanctimony." Lester's next words were quiet but heavy. "I've interviewed presidents who showed more humility." Harry's lips parted, then curved into a sneer. "And I've met journalists who showed more intelligence." The control room went silent. "Do we cut?" someone whispered. But Lester didn't move. "Let's keep going," he said softly. "Prince Harry, you've said you've moved on from the royal family. Yet every interview circles back to them. Don't you see the contradiction?" Harry's reply came cold. "I talk about it because people won't stop asking, you included. Maybe look in the mirror before you talk about contradictions." "Maybe," Lester said, "I just see patterns. And maybe tonight we're seeing yours." The air thickened. Harry leaned back, arms crossed. "You wanted honesty," he said. "Now you've got it. You might not like how it sounds." Lester didn't flinch. "Honesty doesn't bother me. Entitlement does." The silence that followed was electric. When they cut to commercial, both men sat frozen, statues under light. The damage was already done. When they returned from the break, the room felt different. Not quiet, charged. Lester's voice was steady, but there was no softness left. "Prince Harry," he began, "if you truly wanted peace, why keep returning to the spotlight?" Harry's eyes narrowed. "Because peace doesn't mean silence. I thought I made that clear." "You did," Lester said. "But when every new project is another memoir, another documentary, another tell-all, people wonder if what you really want isn't peace, but attention." Harry's laugh was short, bitter. "Ah, the cheap shot. Spoiled prince wants attention. How original. I'm not interested in originality, Lester replied. I'm interested in honesty. And what I'm hearing sounds more like resentment than reflection. Harry leaned forward, voice low. You think you're clever? Trying to psychoanalyze me on national television? You're no different from the tabloids. Lester's tone tightened. No one's asking you to bow. Just to answer. Answer to who? Harry shot back. To viewers who think my life's entertainment? Maybe that's your problem. Lester, you've built an empire on other people's pain. For the first time, Lester's composure cracked, slightly. You've accused everyone tonight, the press, your family, institutions, but not yourself. The one person you haven't held accountable is you. Harry's face hardened. Accountable for what? For wanting privacy? For surviving constant intrusion? You have no idea what that's like. I don't, Lester admitted. But I do know that when you claim to want privacy, then make documentaries about your private life, people are going to ask why. That's not persecution. That's logic. Harry's laugh was hollow. Logic doesn't apply when the public decides who you are. Perhaps, Lester said quietly, because you keep walking back into the laboratory. Harry's jaw flexed. You think this is clever? Making the prince squirm? No, Lester said. I think truth should stand taller than ego, and tonight ego's doing most of the talking. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. Harry muttered under his breath, You sound like my father. Lester's reply came soft but certain. Maybe that's the problem. You stopped listening long ago. Harry's glare was ice. You're walking a fine line, Holt. And you've been crossing them all night, Lester replied. Then came the question that set everything ablaze. Do you think your mother would be proud of how you've handled all of this? Harry's chair shifted forward. Don't bring her into this. You didn't know her. You didn't lose her like I did. So don't you dare! Lester's voice softened, but he didn't back down. I bring her up because you've made her part of your story. But right now, all the world sees is anger. Harry's voice cracked, not with grief, but rage. Maybe anger is what happens when you've been misunderstood your entire life. Or maybe, Lester said quietly, it's what happens when no one's allowed to tell you no. The word struck like a punch. Harry blinked, stunned, then laughed bitterly. You think you can shame me into humility? You don't know me. I think the world does, Lester said. And they're still trying to recognize the man behind the outrage. The silence that followed was suffocating. The countdown to break echoed faintly in Lester's earpiece. When the red light finally blinked off, both men sat frozen. Lester's voice, calm and professional, broke through. Stay with us. We'll be right back. But by then it was already too late. The interview was no longer a conversation. It was a collision between a journalist's patience and a prince's pride. And when the world saw what happened next, they wouldn't see an interview. They'd see a reckoning.